Okay, so you know how much I love a good deep dive. And, well, these new snippets you've sent over from Nice, France, January 16th, 2025, this is a gold mine.
Yeah, definitely some interesting stuff here.
We've got a controversial statue that might be getting taken down, a new French government facing its first big test, and, oh yeah, a little change in interest rates that could have you double-checking your savings account.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's unravel it all.
First up, Joan of Arc, national hero, all that, but apparently causing a bit of a ruckus in Nice.
Oh,
There's talk of actually removing her statue.
wow.
And it's not just any statue. We're talking a 170,000 euro masterpiece. Legal issues seem to be at the heart of it, but there are these whispers about, and I'm quoting here, identity movements. And honestly, that's what really caught my eye.
Yeah, identity movements can be a loaded term. To really get to the bottom of this, we need to look at the identitarian movement that's been gaining some traction in Europe.
Right.
They're all about preserving a very specific vision of what it means to be European.
Okay.
And that often translates into opposition to immigration, Islam, multiculturalism, and they're big proponents of the Great Replacement theory.
Which we might have to unpack at some point, but let's stick with Joan of Arc for now.
Sure.
Now, the studio that created the statue, Missor, there are these rumors that they might be connected to this identitarian movement. You sent over an article from Radio Nizza about them. What do you think? Does it back up those claims?
It'll be interesting to see how Radio Nizza frames it.
Yeah.
But, this whole situation really brings up some big questions about art and its role in society. Can art ever truly be neutral?
Right.
Or is it always going to reflect the artist's worldview, whether consciously or unconsciously? And when we're talking about public art, who gets to decide what messages are being put out there? It's a tricky balance.
No doubt. It makes you think about the power of symbolism. And speaking of power, let's shift gears a bit and talk about French politics. Francois Bayrou is back in the saddle as prime minister, round 2 for him, and he's already facing a no-confidence vote.
Yeah, a bit of deja vu, isn't it? Remember what happened with Michel Barnier right before Christmas?
Yeah, seems like Bayrou stepped into the role and inherited the same political headaches.
Exactly. And this no-confidence vote, it's probably just a formality at this point.
Right.
The Rassemblement National is abstaining, just like they did with Barnier, so it's unlikely to succeed. But that doesn't mean Bayrou is in the clear just yet.
Right. Weren't there some rumblings about budget battles?
Ah, yes. Budget discussions. That's what ultimately brought Barnier down, and they could easily do the same to Bayrou.
Oh.
The Socialist Party is the one to watch right now. They're playing it cool, taking a wait-and-see approach.
Okay.
But their votes could be the deciding factor in the upcoming budget debates. It's a high-stakes game of political chess.
And it seems every move has the potential to completely change the game. Now, this next bit of news hits a little closer to home, especially for our wallets. The Libretto A savings account, pretty popular in France, just had its interest rate slashed to 2.4%.
Ouch.
Not exactly something to celebrate, is it?
On the surface, it might seem like a minor adjustment, but, as they say, the devil's in the details.
Okay.
The government is spinning this as a necessary move because inflation is slowing down.
Yeah.
And they want to stimulate investment in things like social housing and local government projects.
Right, right. But the Radio Nizza fact-checking team dug a little deeper and found something interesting. Turns out the Libretto A has actually been lagging behind inflation since 2020. So not only is the new rate lower, it's been a losing proposition for savers for a while now, and it looks even worse when you compare it to Radio France's inflation figures.
That's a great point. What seems like a small percentage change can really add up over time, eating away at your savings. Let's say you've got around 7,000 euros in your Libretto A. Well, with this new rate, that's a loss of 42 euros every year.
Yeah, it might not seem like much, but those little losses definitely add up.
Exactly. And it begs the question, are there smarter ways to manage your money in this kind of economic climate?
Yeah, it makes you rethink your whole savings strategy. We should definitely explore those alternative investment options you mentioned earlier. But before we get too deep into personal finance, let's zoom out a bit and see what's happening around the world.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of these global happenings. The Israel-Hamas ceasefire negotiations in Doha seem to be moving in a positive direction.
Yeah.
There's even talk of a 6-week truce, potential prisoner releases, and maybe even a phased withdrawal of Israeli troops. It's a complicated situation in Gaza, but could this be a step towards a lasting peace?
It's a glimmer of hope, for sure, in a region that's been through so much conflict. Yeah. But any long-term solution has to address the root causes, the underlying issues that are fueling the tensions.
Absolutely.
And that's not something that can be resolved overnight.
Right. Meanwhile, over in South Korea, things seem to be going in a different direction entirely.
Oh?
The arrest of their suspended president has really thrown things into turmoil.
Wow.
And there are clashes between supporters and opponents, adding fuel to the fire. It makes you wonder about the stability of democratic institutions, even in countries that seem to have it all figured out.
It's a reminder that democracy is fragile.
Yeah.
It requires a delicate balance of power, a strong independent judiciary, and a real commitment to upholding the rule of law.
Right.
When those things start to erode, it creates a dangerous void.
And sometimes that void is filled with economic uncertainty as well. Thinking back to that Libretto A situation, it just goes to show how these seemingly small economic changes can have a ripple effect across the board. It really makes you wonder if there are any truly safe havens for your savings these days.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, there's no magic bullet, no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
It all comes down to individual circumstances. Risk tolerance, financial goals, time horizon, all that.
Right.
But one thing's for sure, those traditional savings accounts like the Libretto A, they might not be the best bet in an inflationary environment.
For sure. We should dive deeper into some alternative options at some point.
Yeah, we should definitely put that on the agenda.
But before we get into all that financial stuff, I wanted to touch on another story that's been making waves. India's engagement with the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
It seems they're forging new trade deals and really strengthening their regional influence. It's a bold move considering the international community's stance.
Yeah, it is.
What do you make of it?
It's realpolitik, pure and simple.
Okay.
India sees the geopolitical chessboard, and they're making their move. They recognize Afghanistan's strategic importance, and they want to secure their interests in the region.
Right, especially with China and Pakistan making their own plays.
Yeah.
It's a real game of chess, isn't it?
It is.
Now, let's hop over to Italy, where it seems like chaos is the only constant.
Oh. What's going on now?
Their railway system is in a meltdown again. Reports of suspicious technical malfunctions causing widespread disruption. It's hard not to think about some of the economic issues we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Could budget cuts and underfunding be contributing to these recurring problems?
It's definitely on the table.
Yeah.
You've got aging infrastructure, lack of maintenance, staff shortages.
Right.
All of that can lead to a decline in service quality.
Yeah.
And let's not rule out the possibility of sabotage.
Right.
It's a complex situation with no easy answers.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, circling back to those budget battles in France.
Yeah.
The Socialist Party's wait-and-see approach is really interesting, but it also injects another layer of uncertainty into an already volatile political landscape.
Absolutely.
What are the potential scenarios here?
Well, one possibility is they could decide to side with the opposition and bring the government down.
Right.
That would be a bold move,
Yeah.
especially after the whole Barnier debacle.
Right.
But it's a risky one, too.
How so?
It could backfire and lead to another political crisis, which could actually benefit the Rassemblement National. On the other hand, they could go for a more collaborative approach.
Okay.
Work with Bayrou's government, try to shape the budget, ensure their priorities are addressed.
Right, a more pragmatic approach.
Exactly. But that comes with its own set of risks. They could be seen as compromising their principles or propping up a government that's already lost public trust.
It's a tough call, weighing the potential gains against the potential losses, trying to predict the unpredictable.
It is.
Speaking of unpredictable, remember that $120 Hawaiian pizza we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah, the culinary extravagance.
Well, it turns out there might be a method to their madness after all. They claim they use some super rare heirloom pineapple flown in fresh every day from some remote island in the Pacific.
Wow.
Supposedly it's got this unique flavor profile, and they even offer a guided tasting experience to, justify the price tag.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm a little intrigued.
Yeah.
It's amazing how something as simple as a pizza can spark a conversation, become a status symbol,
Right.
even a potential investment opportunity.
That's true.
Maybe there's a deep dive to be had on the economics of luxury food trends.
Now, that's an idea. We'll have to add it to the list.
Yeah.
But before we get sidetracked by exotic pineapple, I want to bring us back to a story of true inspiration. the anniversary of Shackleton's expedition to the South Magnetic Pole.
Oh, yeah.
It's a testament to human endurance, resilience, that relentless pursuit of knowledge.
Absolutely. Just imagine the challenges they faced.
I know.
Freezing temperatures, treacherous terrain, limited resources,
Yeah.
the constant threat of the unknown, and yet they persevered.
Incredible.
Driven by a thirst for discovery and a belief in something larger than themselves.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? While we're here worrying about politics and the economy, those explorers remind us what the human spirit is truly capable of.
Their story still resonates today,
Yeah.
over a century later.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of adversity, human ingenuity and resilience can prevail.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, what lessons can we learn from these explorers? How can we apply their spirit of resilience and adaptability to the challenges we face today?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. And speaking of pondering, remember, it was on this very day, January 16th, but back in 1909, that Edgeworth David, Douglas Mawson, and Alistair Mackay reached the South Magnetic Pole, members of Ernest Shackleton's Nimrod expedition.
Wow.
It was a huge achievement, really pushing the limits of exploration and scientific understanding.
Yeah, their journey was remarkable, facing unimaginable hardships, freezing temperatures, treacherous terrain,
Right.
limited resources, constant threat of the unknown, and still they just kept going.
It's incredible.
Driven by this thirst for discovery, this belief in something bigger than themselves.
Really puts things into perspective.
Doesn't it?
We're worried about politics and the economy, but those explorers, they show us what the human spirit can do.
Their legacy lives on, reminds us that even when things are tough, human ingenuity, resilience, those can win out.
And it makes you think, what lessons can we learn from these explorers? How can we take their spirit of resilience and adaptability and use it for the challenges we're facing today?
That's a good question.
It is. With technology changing so fast, what events or inventions from history have lessons for us moving forward?
Maybe the invention of the printing press?
Yeah.
Democratized knowledge, revolutionized communication,
Right.
or the development of the internet,
Yeah.
connecting us in ways we couldn't have imagined just a few decades ago.
Both amazing examples of human ingenuity shaping history. And as we look ahead with all the changes happening in the world, it's important to remember those lessons. Resilience, adaptability, the constant pursuit of knowledge.
Exactly. Just like those explorers charting new territory, we have to navigate our own uncharted waters.
Right.
Use the lessons from the past and be ready to face the challenges and opportunities that are coming.
Well said. It seems like we've come full circle on this deep dive.
Yeah.
From local news in Nice to the global stage, and even back in time to these incredible explorers. It's been fascinating.
It has.
We've talked about art and politics, the balance of power, the economy, and the enduring spirit of humanity.
And it shows how interconnected our world really is.
Right.
Events that seem far away can actually ripple out and touch our lives in ways we don't even realize.
It's a reminder to stay curious, to keep exploring, and to never stop questioning.
Absolutely.
We've covered a lot today, and we hope this deep dive has given you some things to think about.
Yeah, we encourage you to keep thinking about these questions, look for different viewpoints, and talk about these things with others.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the news from Nice, France, January 16th, 2025.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you'll join us again for another exploration of current events.
And if you find any interesting news or stories, be sure to share them with us.
We're always up for a new deep dive.